Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tiny Blue Games. My name, of course, is Sisa or Chris, and with me, I got Ryan.
Hello, friends.
And we're talking Scourge today. Well, we're talking Guild Wars 2. If you don't know, the Scourge is the new elite spec coming to Guild Wars 2. Path of Fire, be excited. It's a pretty hot... This is the spec I'm going to be making from the start. I've already decided that after playing the beta weekend. I think I haven't done a ton of Necromancer stuff in general, so this is the perfect time for me to really, look at these animations. Yeah. You got, faces that just, look around wherever you are and, scream and moan. This bear is pretty fucking freaked out, I'm sure. Could you imagine getting attacked by this?
That would be a little terrifying, yeah.
So we're really just looking at a lot of the skills right now. I think I have mostly Condi gear on, but it's the test character, so it's not at all optimized. But what we should realize right away is that the amount of Condis you can put out with the torch is kind of pretty impressive.
Yeah, look at the fire ticks already.
Yeah, right. And they're kind of big cone shaped areas. Specifically, one's a cone, and one of them, I think number 5 it is, does damage sort of down and around the cone area, which is pretty around the monster that you target. So it is kind of one of the skills that you need to have someone targeted to actually use, but it's pretty devastating. It knocks people down for a bit, and it's a pretty sweet time. I guess we should talk about the main mechanic as well, is barrier, and you're giving up your whole shroud to use it on allies and use it on enemies. It's a whole different Necromancer than there's ever been before, right? This is way different than original or Reaper.
Yeah.
And it kind of addresses some of the issues that they talked about in Balance, where Reaper's never been able to do full Condi or full power DPS because they have 2 life bars, right? They have too much tankiness to be a DPS. Now we're giving that away so we can be a full support or a full DPS. And I think this is a very elegant way of doing it.
Yeah.
I can let you chime in too. I'm way too...
Well, no, you're making it from the release, so I'm more interested in what you have to say as to why you picked it. But no, it's a good point. Getting rid of the shroud, it allows the shroud's super cool. No one's saying the shroud isn't cool, but it allows the Necromancer to be able to fill different roles. It's true, everyone's super excited, including you, I'm sure, about the supporting capabilities of the new Necromancer spec, the Scourge. But I think a lot of people are kind of forgetting now, without this shroud, it might means that they may, I don't know if, I don't know, but maybe Condi Necro is going to become a lot more powerful of a thing now, because they won't be so afraid to give the Scourge powerful Condi buffs if it's losing its survivability. Maybe it'll gain some more Condi capabilities.
And I think it very much will, just from what I've been seeing with the amount of damage you can put out. I mean, obviously the numbers aren't finalized or whatever, but the offhand weapons for Condi Necros have been okay, but they've never been amazing. And this torch looks like it puts out some serious shit, especially with the changes that's already happened to Torment and stuff like that, where it's become more powerful. And then we have ways of making, burning when we apply Torment. There's a lot of synergies here that are just very impressive. A lot of I guess we're watching some utility skills now. A lot of them, this is the teleport actually.
That's so cool.
The teleport got disabled eventually, but I was lucky enough to use it beforehand. So it's a teleport for yourself. Allies can go through it as well, like a Mesmer portal. It's a lot shorter in duration. Because of how quick it is, I think. It also gives you a barrier when you go through it, which is pretty interesting. These are cool. See that snake? It went there and it left that little thing on the ground, and now I'm gonna go pick it up, and I get barrier. And what game does that remind you of? What game does that remind you of that had skills like that?
You probably won't like if I answer, because it was in League of Legends too. But
okay, well,
game pisses you off.
Fuck you and your League of... No, I'm talking WildStar healing used to have that kind of skill where you'd put down orbs to pick up. I really enjoy that healing where it's kind of a choice for the actual tank as to when they take the barrier themselves. They can kind of store it for a little bit. Another particular thing to mention is that it puts out more of those little circles depending on how many monsters you throw that into.
Really?
So
hey?
if there's 5 of them, you'd get, 5 little circles, and you'd pick up like a bunch of barrier for a bit.
Jeez, hey.
Which naturally synergizes, because with 5 monsters, you're going to be taking more damage, right? So it's a really cool idea.
And that'll be a lot of barrier, like that'll...
Oh, you can get, like, I think later in this video, I try and stack as much barrier as possible. We'll talk about it when it happens. But I start by doing, like, 2 of those on a monster, use my heal, which is another bunch of barrier, and then you can use one of your F abilities that gives you a barrier as well. And you can really make some stuff happen. I actually think it's going to be happening pretty soon. Oh, no, this is the elite now. Look at the elite.
Oh.
Like how, like, beautiful that is.
Yeah.
It's a pretty tremendous thing. I think what it mostly does is converts things into boons. I actually haven't read the tooltip yet again, since after the beta weekend, but it synergizes well with a lot of the traits that we have, because I think we get a lot of might for converting and corrupting boons, or corrupting boons on other people. So I don't know if it's an elite that you'd use maybe in raiding. Probably not as much, but for sure for PvP, it's a pretty solid skill. Yeah. So what you're noticing here is there's a trait where instead of having 3 of them that you put down, you can put down 1 large...
Sand Shroud.
Yeah, Sand Shroud. Man, my words are falling out of my mouth now. 1 large Sand Shroud, and it affects more players around you.
Right.
Which is a very... Oh, see, there you go. I put down 2 of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and now...
That's very cool.
All right, look at my barrier now. Look at it. I got, like, half my health. Like, that's a shit ton of barrier.
Yeah, so actually that might be a good segue into why you think you'd enjoy this playstyle in raids, and how maybe a Necromancer support would differ so much from a Ranger, well, I guess a Druid support. Yeah,
well, I guess the first thing you have to realize on the Scourge is that you're not going to be healing. Right? Yeah. Like, I have no way of actually healing people. I've got ways of applying barrier, and that's a whole different thing, like mitigating damage. But I can't heal people. I can't top people up. I can't do sustain heals. What I think their playstyle would be, and I don't actually obviously know what kind of bosses we're going to be seeing, but if you had a boss that did so much damage that was unavoidable that it would one-shot people, perhaps to the entire raid, it would like one-shot elementalists or something like that. Mm-hmm. You need to bring a Scourge to barrier those people at that time. I think that would be a very interesting boss mechanic. It would force Scourges into the meta, and maybe it'd be a very... Look at, like, I got 4th in there. It'd be a very cool way of making barrier quite useful. Maybe a less obvious way would be if a tank had aggro of some sort, and they took a lot of damage. Mm-hmm. You could have a Scourge that was doing Condi damage, but also applying barrier specifically to that character. And in specific times, like maybe there's phases where the boss does a lot more damage to the tank, and you need a little bit more support that way. I think that would be very good, because another thing that the actual barrier plays with is the vitality of the person that it's applied to, right? So if you have a...
Oh, that's right.
Right, so it's healing power for me. But it's... Yeah, so we're in PvP for a bit here. You can watch me get killed. So it's healing power for me, but it's vitality on whoever is absorbing it. So if we have a person who's designed to take a beating, which, to this point hasn't actually been that much of a thing in Guild Wars 2. Like, yes, we've had loose tanks, but we haven't had someone whose whole purpose is to absorb damage, really. And I'd like to see them really play with that in raids, because I think it would be a cool play style that a lot of people are willing to play with. Like, the best things we could talk about are, like, hand kiters in,
or fixation, and then a possible mechanic where barrier could come into uses. So, like, when Samurag pounces on somebody, for example, and you have to interrupt it or it'll kill the person, maybe instead of boss mechanic where it's going to announce that it's going to absolutely obliterate somebody in 5 seconds, and there's no interrupt, there's no way to avoid it other than the fact of you have to stack. First of all, the druids or whatever healer you have has to heal the person up all the way to full health just to give them that extra bit, and then all the Scourges as well have to make sure that guy's buried up at the right moment so that he doesn't just get destroyed.
No, exactly those kind of things. And, like, I think it's already quite a useful thing. Like, I'm envisioning specifically for Slothazor, that attack where he has the 3 sort of circles that go down, and usually you have to dodge it, but a lot of pugs are just terrible at that. If you had someone who's burying people whenever that skill comes up, you're saving a lot of time by trying to res people. Like that's a super cool way to use it. It has to be these telegraph things that do a ton of damage to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very excited to play it. I can't say enough about it. This obviously wasn't about the nitty and gritty. If you want nitty and gritty, Wooden Potatoes is your guy. I don't think we could do it better than him. But yeah, I'm excited. Any final thoughts?
I mean, I think Scourge is super. All the elite specs are interesting. First of all, Scourge is going to be incredibly interesting because I think there's going to be a lot of build craft, and I think it's going to be taking a class in a direction where it's never really had a place before, and at the same time a place that is so unique to a new concept to the game itself as well. So Scourge, I'm really excited to see what'll happen with it.
And yeah, I mean, I'm excited to play it. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll be having more coverage on some of our other elite specs coming up in the next while here before the expansion launches. Yeah,
So
which
pumped.
is so soon.
Woo!
I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.